Hello, everybody. I'm here with another Startup News Young Female CEO. I'm here with Grace Marifioni. Grace and I met at a conference where we were both learning the process of running a digital campaign. I spotted all these cool young 20s girls on a table, and I said, I'm going to go and sit with them because they're cool. And we all became friends, which is cute, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Grace and I are also part of the Aussie Founders Club. And so this is a good story because Grace is working full time and building a side hustle in fashion tech. But Grace, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you're building and what you're doing full time and side hustle time?
Yeah, cool. So I'm Grace, the founder of Gaia Custom and Patterned, which is a tech extension of Gaia Custom. So Gaia Custom is a custom clothing brand. We do bespoke fashion, all made in Australia at the moment. And so I scaled Gaia Custom over 2 years. I got it to the limit of growth, and I thought, like, where to from here? I realized that getting people to make clothes in Australia as subcontractors was my next step, but that doubled my price and it completely changed my business model. So I was now a high-end luxury brand. And that's completely fine, but there's only a very small kind of market you can target. And I've always wanted to make the custom experience accessible to everyone. So that's where Pattern came in. And it's a tech platform that's enabling custom clothing at more accessible prices and lead times. There's three-prong. First, you're designing with like an AI designer.
Oh, yeah, I love
So it is trained on our design. It is going to give you something based on what I would have designed. The cool part is it takes your inspiration picks and it transforms that into a few designs. You choose which one you like out of the options and then you can edit it. So you can be like, okay, I like this, but like make it longer, and you can talk to it until you're really happy with your design. And the cool part about this is like that's how young people shop. Like they start from like inspo pics. Everyone that comes to me, I want something like this, but I want to
Yeah.
change 1 and 2. You just can't get this anywhere else. You can't tailor things to what you want. Then prong 2 is auto generating the body measurements.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're still putting out an MVP for this, but the whole concept is you give it 1 or 2 photos or a video, tell it your height, and then it can auto generate all of your body measurements. So then we can go and put together a custom pattern for your design for your
Amazing.
body. And then prong 3 is creating that tech pack, which is the information that a manufacturer would need to go ahead and manufacture that. And with this tier of custom, because we are like the whole point is to make it more accessible, we're connecting with bespoke tailors overseas in Southeast Asian countries. And we're able to reduce the price from manufacturer in Australia is about 1.5 grand for a custom, like just a basic custom piece. And we're reducing that price around the $600 mark, which is like substantial.
Oh my God, I love this. So there's a couple of things. I used to do that with my mum. Mum and I had a deal when I was a teenager that I would say, can you make this? Mum was a great sewer. And she'd say, yes, as long as you cook dinner for a week. So that was our deal. And, I would do it exactly the same thing. I would say, I've pulled out something from a magazine in those days. I want it to look like this, but maybe a different color or with a sash here. And obviously I think my mum might have found a pattern, but tailored the pattern
Yeah.
to suit the design. So what you're doing is amazing. When we traveled to Vietnam as a family a couple of years ago, I took a dress that I wanted copied. All of that. It's tapping into those markets where the price of making things is so much more cost effective, right? So yeah, it's brilliant. So Grace, like every 24-year-old woman that I'm meeting, you've got this going as your side hustle, but you've also got a proper job where you're learning how to build a startup on the go, right? So that's amazing.
Yeah, so it wasn't always like this. I was full time on Gaia Custom for around 7 months, and then I took on 2 days a week of work, and I only entered full time work just over a month ago. And the decision was I felt like I was at my potential for learning through trial and error. And I just want to be in front of incredible mentors right now. And I think that'll be a faster learning path. And it's absolutely true. I think for the next few years at least, I want to be learning from mentors. And the job really energizes me and teaches me a lot. So even though it takes time away, it's actually speeding up your progress so much more. And you're able to like directly implement, you learn something at work and you can go and try it out directly with your business and get that feedback really fast.
And, this also feeds into my philosophy that women run businesses so differently to men. There's lots of data that proves that because we run businesses in a more considered fashion. So you're learning and appreciate that this will definitely help your own businesses, but that's going to take more time, but hopefully less mistakes, right? So you can apply this knowledge into what you're doing. And it might take you a little longer to get what you're doing off the ground as a full blown business, but you're doing it in a more considered manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so where did your business passion, entrepreneurial passion come from?
I'll tell you a few things. Number one is my mum's like a boss. So yeah, my mum was like number one role model. She was a CEO for 15 years. And I think the more like the older that I get, I appreciate her so much more. Like she was incredible what she did. She took our small family business that her brother created, coming from Italy to Australia. He had all the oomph, he had all the people skills and got people in the door, but she was able to put systems and processes to turn that into an 80 restaurant chain across Australia. And growing up with someone like that, you just naturally pick up and you monkey see, monkey do. Then number two, I think I am just quite a driven person. I do like doing things by myself. I like learning and failing by myself. Entrepreneurship just naturally follows on from that. So yeah.
The creative side, though, as well is important. So you obviously grew up as a creative girl. A lot of what we're seeing with young female entrepreneurs is that creative side. So as well as, watching your mum be the boss and having been driven yourself, there must have been a creative side to you growing up.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. In year 12 or in year 11, I had my maths and science, which is what I pursued in my degree. And then I had design. And I basically had to choose one because they're both really demanding and you kind of got to go all in. And I chose maths and physics as like a practical thing. I was good at it and I just saw like, there's job opportunity there. Whereas being a creative professionally, it just was never seemed like an option.
Yeah,
So
wow.
then I finished my degree and I always knew, okay, now I've gone so far the analytical way. I miss the creative and I wanted a completely unstructured learning experience. So then I started making clothes and then that turned into Gaia Custom. So I've definitely always had that like analytical and creative, and where I thrive is where like they're merged into one.
Yeah, yeah. So it's that. Yeah, exactly. I can see that too with you. So, what do you love about being an entrepreneur? What are the things you love the most?
Yeah, I would say two things. One is the freedom to learn into the pockets that you want to. So, like when marketing was my biggest challenge and barrier to grow my business, I could fully lean into that. And funnily enough, that's where we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in a phase where I was like, okay, cool, like marketing's the next big thing. Like, I need to absorb as much information as I can and then go and implement that. At one phase, I was like obsessed with branding. At one phase, I was obsessed with like the financials. I did investment for 6 months, and that was my time to really understand like the financial and the business structure side of things. So I love the freedom to learn new things and go where motivates you at that time. And then the other thing I love about entrepreneurship is building and watching things grow. There's something so fulfilling about that. And I think I love the grassroots of building something from nothing because you see that it's like, diminishing returns. Like it's that really fast trajectory of growth, which I love.
I so understand that building from scratch as well. I get great joy out of having an idea and then seeing it as a product. It's like, oh, actually that came out of my brain. Isn't that weird? And actually people are using it too. That makes it even more amazing.
Yeah.
I think your approach to learning is really inspiring too, Grace. Like, I love the way that you, again, it's part of this being considered, that you're taking a bit of a chunk of how to run a business and going off and learning about it. So whether in the beginning it was finance and business structure, and then you're taking another chunk and doing brand and another chunk and doing marketing. I think that is a really interesting, smart way to build up your knowledge so that this business, when you go full time, can be the most successful it can be.
Yeah, totally. And I also think it's the most enjoyable because, opposed to solely learning theory and then going and implementing, you're actually learning and implementing at the same time. And retention's better, but also you're able to really understand the theory and like
Yeah.
in a more nuanced way when you implement it.
Yeah, that's true. So you learn and apply as you go and become a mini expert at that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
When we were doing our course together, I mapped out the accelerator that I wanted to launch, which the platform for the tween girl ended up falling out of. While I was waiting for that to come off, I rewrote it for the 11-year-old girl. And now I've turned that into a platform idea. What's your thoughts about teaching tween girls how to be an entrepreneur?
I mean, I love the idea. I think every young girl has it in them to want to create and explore. And the best part that I like, the most impactful part is that exposure at a young age to entrepreneurship. I only started my own business and then came across the startup ecosystem like a year and a half later. And being immersed in that world, I was like, wow, like these are my people. Like I feel so at home here. And
Yeah.
it's like, why did it take 3 years to have exposure to that? Why do we only have exposure to accounting, law, and medicine or like and academia through school? So I love that idea from a young age. It's like this is an option and it's feasible and it brings them joy. So they have that lasting memory. Yeah, I think it's great. Like I can't wait to see some of the projects that spin out of it.
I feel the same way about the startup ecosystem. I love it. I feel like I'm really with my people as well. It's interesting that you say for young people, the studies that inspired me to actually build this and first write it up as a book, which I've got in draft, and then map out what a platform might look like, was that the data says that the exposing tween girls to entrepreneurial thinking really affects how they grow and what choices they make later. It doesn't change or affect tween boys. And that's why I really am focusing this whole concept on the tween girls, because not only do I feel connected to it because I was one of those girls, but also because it actually does change the trajectory of a tween girl. And the other bit of evidence is tween girls also lose confidence around the age of 13, 14, as they get into that whole teenage nonsense. They lose confidence to believe that they could start a business, whereas boys, as confidence goes up. What do you think about that? Do you remember your own experience as a tween girl?
All too well. I think not only do you lose your confidence, you lose your interest. Like at the between the age of like 13 and 15, all that mattered was being cool and like being accepted. And I didn't study at all. That every weekend we were just going out, like that was fun. And yeah, so confidence, but also your priorities are just completely different. And when it flipped for me was like 11 and 12, I said, you have to put your head down now.
Yeah.
Every year before that, like, no, it was not
Yeah.
in the cards. Yeah.
It's so interesting. One of the other girls I interviewed, Sophia, she said she remembers going into senior school and saying, okay, there's two types of girls. There's the cool girls and then there's the not cool girls. And where do I fit? Like, do I want to be a cool girl? And if I have to be a cool girl, then everything has to change about me because she had curly brown hair and they didn't, and all this sort of stuff. And it's when, a lot of us lose a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I think I can resonate with that a lot, and I built it back up like post school. Honestly,
Mm,
it's so
mm,
true. You build it up when between the age of like 19 and 21. I would say that whole time was just like healing and growing and like self development, and I enjoyed that phase of my life so much so.
yeah, right.
So yeah, yeah.
When you say healing, would you like, was it a conscious decision to feel better about yourself?
Oh, 100%. Yep. I definitely believe that. My mum took me to, this was after I graduated from university. She took me to Eden in Queensland. It was like a
Mm.
retreat.
Oh, beautiful.
It was the most beautiful thing ever. And it was part of that. It was like in the middle of that journey at 21. I did lots and lots of like yoga, and that was just my thing to have time with myself. But yeah, I think that loss of confidence in those years, it definitely marked me. Number one, just because of all that social pressure, but also the ATAR system and the pressure that they put
Mm,
on you to perform. It's another huge confidence degrader. And I was quite naturally like good at school, like book smart,
mm,
but I was probably one of the most like bogged down by that mentality of like you have to perform, and that's a
yeah.
real confidence like suppressor as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I think, especially for girls, as you say, there is a big, dramatic loss of self confidence. And how beautiful that that you had a mum like that that could take you on that healing journey and consciously understood that that's what you needed. I mean, that's pretty rare. I'm loving your mother.
Yes,
Um,
I'm very lucky.
yeah, most people don't get there till they're 40. Um, but that is amazing. Why do you think it's important for women and young girls to learn how to run a business, like when start a business?
I wouldn't say it's important for young women to start a business. I would say it's important for young women to spend time with themselves and figure out what they want. So,
Yeah.
through this healing journey, looking back on it, it was only because of that that I was able to really reflect and be like, this degree is only expressing one part of me, and I'm not happy, and I need to
Mm,
go back home to myself through my actions. And it just so happened that that was entrepreneurship for me, because that
mm,
rings so true to like who I am, and I'm not trying to be someone else. I think it's important for girls to understand like who they are, and if they have that desire to just build and create and drive positive change, then they should follow that calling. I think the concept of like starting a business isn't really what was in my mind. I never thought of it as like I'm starting a business. I just thought of it as like I was following like what I'm supposed to do, and it
mm,
just
mm.
manifests as like a business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's part of the dream as well. Even if women who have the platform as a young girl go and work somewhere or go and work for a scale up or go and work for a corporate, they're doing it with a load more self-belief, a load more understanding about how that works because they've played with and started a couple of other businesses. They might have found those jobs through the community on the platform. I just see it as a place for, a whole lot of positivity and self belief and growth for these girls instead of having to put up with all the nonsense about, am I cool? Because if you can actually throw that energy into something else at that time, and then, there's just a focus on something other than what's being presented to them in the schoolyard.
Yeah, 100%. On that note, I believe that running your own business and having that mindset of how the owner is thinking, it makes you 1,000 times better as an employee.
Mm,
I will always back this because you're kind of whenever you're working for someone else, you're thinking like, how do I make my manager's job easier? And then how do I make, like, how does that level up? And yeah, what is like the, the owner of this business, like, what are they thinking? And it makes you so much better as an employee and makes you so much more useful to your managers.
And you can see because you'll understand how it works, you can see where the effect of your contribution.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Last question, Grace. What would you tell your 11-year-old self?
I would probably tell my 11-year-old self, like, just keep having fun. Just don't suppress your personality because other people like will laugh at you or think you're funny. Like, keep being, like, I was a very audacious 11-year-old, and I was like, keep being loud. Like, who cares? Don't be suppressed by other people's judgments. If someone's judging you, they're probably jealous that they don't have that confidence to not care what other people think. So yeah, I would just say keep going, be fun, be loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gorgeous. Thank you so much, Grace. I loved hanging around with you at the conference, and it's so good that we're now continuing to be connected, and not just through the Aussie Founders Club, but just generally. And I love what you're doing. I actually feel so connected to the platform because I know that's exactly the experience that I had growing up. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's brilliant. Thanks so much, Grace.
Thank you so much.